The morning light filtered through the ancient elven trees, casting soft rays across Alfheim's vibrant landscapes. Clora walked alongside Aeliana, her staff of light in hand, Omega close by her side, ready for another day of intense training. Today's lesson, she knew, would focus on something more intangible than combat techniques or defensive magic. It was a deeper understanding of realms, of the balance, and the delicate boundaries that Aeliana herself upheld. They arrived at a secluded glade, one that Aeliana often used for more meditative exercises. The air felt different here, charged with a quiet energy that seemed to mirror Aeliana's own aura. Today's lesson, Aeliana began, her voice calm yet firm, will not involve wielding your staff or honing your bond with Omega. Instead, we're going to discuss something foundational, something that defines me as a guardian, and something that will shape you as an alpha. Clora nodded, her gaze focused, already attuned to the gravity of Aeliana's words. As a guardian of the realms, I am bound by an ancient oath to protect the balance, Aeliana explained, her blue eyes taking on a reflective, almost distant quality. It is a commitment to uphold peace between realms, to ensure that no one realm tips the scales. My role requires me to step in only when that balance is threatened. But there are boundaries I cannot cross, battles I cannot interfere in, even when it aches my heart to remain apart. Clora's brow furrowed slightly, trying to imagine the restraint that Aeliana described. So, there are times when you know something's wrong, but you can't intervene? Yes, Aeliana answered softly, a tinge of sadness in her voice. As much as I want to protect those I care about, there are battles that are not mine to fight. It's a burden to watch from afar, knowing the risks others bear. But it's a line I must hold. My duty is not only to protect, but also to respect the sovereignty of other realms and their chosen champions. Clora took a deep breath, letting the words sink in. The sense of duty that Aeliana described resonated with her own commitment to her pack and Echo Division. But the idea of standing back, to watch without acting, struck her as both foreign and difficult. Has there ever been a moment, Clora ventured, when you almost broke that oath? Aeliana's gaze drifted to the horizon, and for a moment the poised guardian seemed to waver, a memory casting a shadow across her serene expression. Yes, she admitted quietly. It happened when Gunnar confronted Ultranacious, the Demon King. I knew he intended to face that darkness alone, carrying the weight of his decision with courage and conviction. Clora listened intently, her own heart beating faster as she imagined the immense challenge Gunnar had faced. Knowing his intent, Aeliana continued, and knowing the danger, it was the first time I ever considered breaking my oath. I knew the darkness Ultranacious wielded. I had seen it myself, and I feared that Gunnar, brave as he is, would face a force that could not only take his life, but consume his very soul. Clora's gaze fell to the staff of light in her hands, her grip tightening as she tried to comprehend the sheer depth of the decision Aeliana had faced. She looked up at her mentor, a newfound understanding illuminating her hazel eyes. So, why didn't you intervene? Clora asked softly, the question filled with empathy, as she sensed Aeliana's inner conflict. Aeliana's gaze met Clora's, her expression softened with wisdom and trust. I realized then that Gunnar's path was his own, and he was not without allies. The pack, you all possess strengths I cannot replicate, powers tied to the realms and to Earth in ways I cannot fathom. You are a force bound together not by oaths but by loyalty, friendship, and love. In the end, I knew the pack would rise to protect him, even if it meant risking everything. Clora nodded, her heart swelling with pride and respect for the bond that united the pack. She understood now that Aeliana's decision had not been one of indifference, but of deep respect for Gunnar's autonomy and the power of the family they had created. But even as I held back, Aeliana continued, I vowed that, should the darkness ever threaten to consume Gunnar, I would stand ready to shield his soul, that I could allow him to fight, but never to lose himself. To this day, I honour that vow, though thankfully I have never had to keep it. Clora exhaled, feeling a deep connection to the wisdom Aeliana shared. The Guardian's role wasn't just about wielding power, but knowing when to hold it back, when to trust in others to carry the fight forward. Aeliana, Clora said, her voice filled with gratitude, I don't know if I could have that strength, to watch, to trust like that. It takes a kind of courage I haven't yet learned. Aeliana smiled, her hand resting gently on Clara's shoulder. You possess a different kind of strength, Clora. As Alpha, your courage is in leading, in uniting, and in guiding. And you have the wisdom to know when to lean on those beside you. Trust that you will find your own path to balance, just as I have. They sat in companionable silence, Omega nudging Clara's hand gently as if to remind her of the bond they shared, one that mirrored Aeliana's connection to the realms. Thank you, Clora said at last, her voice filled with both reverence and newfound understanding, for sharing this with me, and for reminding me that I don't walk this path alone. Aeliana gave a small nod, her gaze warm and approving. You are learning well, Clora. Remember, the balance we protect is not only between realms, but within ourselves. And it is that balance that will guide you, no matter the path ahead. As the sun rose higher, bathing the glade in a gentle golden light, Clora felt a sense of clarity settle over her. She now understood that her role as Alpha, her connection to her pack, and even her bond with Omega were all threads in the greater tapestry of protection and balance. The morning training had ended, but the lesson would stay with her, a lesson in trust, restraint, and the strength found in unity. As she stood, Clora felt the weight of her staff of light with renewed purpose. She was ready to carry forward the legacy of her mentor and to face whatever awaited her, knowing she was not alone. The afternoon sun hung low as Clora made her way through the towering gates of the Elven War College, Omega trotting steadily at her side. The college's grounds stretched vast and fortified, lined with watchtowers, mystical wards, and training fields that echoed with the sounds of elven warriors sparring and strategizing. Yet, despite the familiar scene of training, the air held an electric charge, as if the entire realm waited with bated breath for what was to come. Aeliana had led Clora and Omega to the edge of an expansive arena, where the finely dressed elven commander awaited them. His face held a smugness that rankled Clora instantly, a look that spoke volumes of disbelief that a mere human could withstand the upcoming trials, let alone prevail. Clora Faelan, the commander greeted, his tone courteous but veiled with doubt. Welcome to the Elven War College. This simulation will push you beyond any normal training you've undertaken, but rest assured, this is no mortal skirmish. The trials here will test your resilience, your strategy, and your bond with this wolf. Omega growled softly, sensing the commander's dismissiveness. Clora rested a reassuring hand on Omega's head, meeting the commander's gaze squarely. I wouldn't expect anything less, she replied, her voice steady but laced with challenge. We're ready. The commander raised an eyebrow, a hint of amusement tugging at his lips. Very well. Let's begin with the first simulation. An orc group from the eastern marshlands. I believe that should suffice for a warm-up. A bell rang, signalling the start, and the lush green field before them shimmered with arcane energy. The ground trembled, transforming into the bleak, foggy marshlands of another realm. Shadows began to coalesce, And with each passing second, Clora could make out the hulking forms of orcs rising from the mist, brandishing crude but deadly weapons, their eyes glinting with malice. Without hesitation, Clora drew her staff of light, the familiar hum of power radiating from it as she prepared to fight. Omega lowered into a crouch, his eyes locked on the nearest orc. "Stay close, Omega. Let's show them what we can do," she murmured, her voice steady but filled with a warrior's resolve. The first wave charged. Clora moved like liquid, her staff swinging in controlled, devastating arcs that struck down each foe that dared approach. Omega darted alongside her, his movements a blur as he took down orcs with powerful, precise attacks. Within minutes, they had dispatched the entire battalion, leaving a pile of defeated orcs behind them. Clora turned back toward the commander and the gathered elven officers, a spark of defiance in her eyes. "Is that all you've got?" A flicker of irritation crossed the commander's face. With a curt nod, he ordered the trial elevated. The ground shimmered again, transforming the battlefield into a rocky, mountainous landscape. This time, beasts from multiple realms emerged, hulking trolls, fire-breathing drakes, and massive spectral hounds with gleaming fangs. Clora took a steadying breath, her heart pounding as she realized the severity of the trial ahead. The beasts attacked in unison, a coordinated assault that required every ounce of Clora's focus and agility. Omega fought valiantly by her side, his movements in sync with hers as though they shared a single mind. She felt their bond strengthening with each clash, each strike, their instincts aligning in a way she hadn't experienced before. As a drake lunged at her, she spun her staff, casting a blinding flash of light that disoriented it just long enough for Omega to leap, his teeth sinking into its exposed neck. The creature roared in agony, collapsing to the ground as Clora and Omega regrouped, panting but resolute. The elven officers murmured amongst themselves, the initial smugness in their expressions replaced with awe. Even the commander was leaning forward, eyes narrowed as he scrutinized every move she made. "Not bad, human," he called out, though his voice held no condescension this time. "But let's see how you handle this." At his signal, the simulation shifted yet again. This time the ground cracked open, and a horde of shadowy wraiths poured forth, their ghostly forms shifting and merging as they approached. Unlike the other creatures, these wraiths moved with uncanny speed, phasing in and out of reality, their forms difficult to predict. "Stay close, Omega," Clora whispered, bracing herself. She focused her energy, allowing the staff to blaze with light. The wraiths recoiled from its glow, their shrieks filling the air, but they soon adjusted, weaving around her defenses and attempting to strike from multiple angles. Just as one lunged toward her from behind, Omega intercepted, his teeth snapping onto the wraith's insubstantial form, somehow holding it back long enough for Clora to swing her staff down with all her strength. The wraith dissipated in a wail of shadowy mist. As they fought, she and Omega seemed to merge in focus and movement, their bond intensifying. She felt his instincts, his loyalty, and his drive. It was as if they were one being, working seamlessly in sync, anticipating each other's moves, countering each attack as if they had done it 100 times before. The final wave descended, a group of towering frost giants, wielding massive hammers that could crush a soldier with a single blow. The elven officers held their breath, watching with a mix of awe and apprehension. Clora steadied herself, gripping the staff of light tightly, feeling its hum deepen as she channeled every last reserve of strength into its core. Aeliana had taught her to trust in the staff's power, to believe in the bond it forged with its wielder. Omega growled, his eyes locked onto the giants as they advanced. With a nod, Clora leaped forward, unleashing a focused beam of light from her staff. The beam struck the nearest giant, the concentrated energy tearing through its icy armor and reducing it to a pile of frost and shattered ice. Together, Clora and Omega wove through the giant's attacks, dodging hammer blows and retaliating with swift, precise strikes. Each strike they landed resonated, amplifying their bond and drawing impressed murmurs from the elven commanders who had initially doubted her. As the last giant fell, Clora and Omega stood amidst the rubble, panting and bruised but victorious. She lifted her head to meet the commander's gaze, a triumphant glint in her eyes. The commander stepped forward, his initial doubt completely erased. He gave a slow, respectful nod. "It appears we have underestimated you, Clora Faelan. You and your companion have demonstrated not only skill but a bond that transcends the typical connection between human and spirit." Clara's gaze softened, a hint of a smile playing at her lips. She glanced down at Omega, who looked up at her with equal pride and devotion. "I'm only as strong as my pack," she replied simply. And with that, she and Omega left the arena, knowing they had earned the respect of the Elven command staff and had taken a significant step in strengthening their bond, one battle at a time. The evening air was calm, the vibrant colours of Alfheim's twilight casting a soft, ethereal glow over the world. Clora and Omega walked side by side through the ancient elven gardens, both still exhilarated from the day's trials. Omega occasionally darted ahead, exploring the unfamiliar scents and sounds, but always returned to her side, a constant and faithful companion. As they reached the heart of the gardens, they found Aeliana waiting for them beneath a great willow, its silvery branches swaying gently in the breeze. Aeliana offered Clora a warm smile as she gestured to a stone bench. "Sit with me, Clora. You and Omega performed exceptionally today, and I wanted to share something I believe will be of interest." Clora took a seat, feeling the pleasant ache of muscles well used. Omega settled by her feet, eyes still sharp as he surveyed their surroundings. Aeliana looked at them both, her expression a mixture of pride and curiosity. "The Elven War College's command staff had much to say about you," Aeliana began, her voice carrying a weight that made Clora sit up a little straighter. "They were impressed, not only by your skill, but by the depth of your bond with Omega. For them, this was the first time witnessing a human, and a young one at that, stand toe-to-toe with some of our most demanding simulations, and do so with grace and resilience." Clora listened in silence, her mind replaying the day's events. She had felt each fight's intensity, but the praise coming from the renowned War College was unexpected. She was no stranger to recognition. Yet somehow this acknowledgement felt different, perhaps because it had been so hard-won, earned in a world that viewed her as an outsider. Aeliana continued, her tone soft but reverent. "They spoke of offering you something quite rare. They would like to extend an invitation for you to join their next session of advanced warfare. This isn't a course we take lightly, nor is it one open to anyone but the most seasoned elven warriors. In fact, you would be the first human to study at that level within our college." Clara's heart raced. The idea of training alongside some of the most skilled warriors in Alfheim stirred both excitement and humility within her. She glanced down at Omega, who looked up at her with a steady gaze as if sensing the significance of the offer. "What would it mean taking a place there?" Clora asked, her voice steady but carrying a note of awe. "What would they expect of me?" Aeliana nodded, her expression growing more thoughtful. "They would expect not only resilience, but dedication. You would be engaging in an immersive experience, more intense, more grueling than what you faced today. You'd learn advanced combat strategies, but also delve into the intricacies of realm dynamics, facing creatures and conflicts from across dimensions. They believe you have the potential not only to withstand it, but to excel." Clora took a deep breath, letting the weight of the offer settle over her. It would mean pushing herself far beyond the limits she had thought possible, testing her bond with Omega in ways she could hardly imagine. But it also felt right, as if each step in her journey had been leading her to this. "It's an honor," she said finally, meeting Aeliana's gaze. "I want to accept. This is exactly what I need, for myself and for Echo Division." Aeliana smiled, her pride evident. "Good. You have the heart and the spirit of an elven warrior, Clora. I've seen it from the beginning. You carry within you both strength and compassion, two qualities that make you invaluable, not only to us, but to your world as well." The two sat in reflective silence for a moment, the gentle sounds of the gardens surrounding them. Finally, Aeliana spoke again, her voice a little softer, almost wistful. "You know, Clora," she said, "you've reminded me of why I chose to step into your world all those years ago. It's warriors like you and Gunnar who carry within them the balance of light and shadow. Seeing your strength today, I feel a renewed sense of purpose." Clora smiled, feeling an unspoken connection deepening between them. "Thank you, Aeliana, for believing in me, and for opening this path." Aeliana reached out, placing a gentle hand on Clora's shoulder. "The path is yours now. Take it, make it yours, and remember, you have the support of your pack and of Alfheim." As the moon rose high above, casting its silvery light across the garden, Clora felt an immense sense of belonging and determination. This was more than a mission. It was the start of something deeper, and she knew that with each step forward, she would be forging her own legacy. The morning sun filtered softly through the ancient trees of Alfheim, casting dapples of golden light across the stone courtyard where Clora and Aeliana stood. Omega paced at Clora's side, sensing her thoughtful mood as she looked down at the small, elegantly inscribed parchment in her hands. It was a formal invitation to the Elven War College's Advanced Warfare course, detailing the expectations and rigorous requirements. 3 Earth months, Clora murmured to herself, weighing the commitment. She turned to Aeliana, her mentor's face calm but observant. "Aeliana?" she began, her tone edged with curiosity and determination. "Could you tell me more about what this course will entail? I want to be fully prepared. Physically, mentally, everything." Aeliana nodded, her eyes reflecting approval of Clora's thoroughness. "Of course, the Advanced Warfare course is one of our most challenging and exclusive programs. It's designed for seasoned warriors, those who have already proven their abilities. For you, it will mean delving deep into strategy, battle tactics, survival, and adaptability in scenarios that change by the moment." She gestured toward a series of training grounds in the distance, where elven warriors were sparring with weapons that glimmered with enchantment, their movements precise and graceful. "The program will also require you to join and train with an elite elven military unit for field exercises. During this time, you'll face simulated attacks and incursions by creatures from various realms," Aeliana continued. "They won't go easy on you. They'll test every skill you have, and you'll need to be prepared for physical, mental, and even magical challenges." Clora took a deep breath, processing the information. 3 months was a significant amount of time away from Echo Division, but she knew the experience and skills she could gain here would make her an even stronger leader. It would also deepen her bond with Omega, honing their partnership to a razor's edge. Omega gave a low, encouraging growl, nudging her hand with his nose. Clora smiled, reaching down to ruffle the fur on his head, feeling a renewed sense of purpose. "Aeliana," Clora said thoughtfully, "I'd like to get Gunnar's input on this. He's always given me guidance, and this is a big step." Aeliana handed her the small silver talisman, its surface etched with ancient symbols of communication. "Of course, contact him. He'll want to know." Clora took the talisman, holding it in her hands and closing her eyes. A faint hum pulsed from the charm as she focused on the link it provided. Within moments, she felt a familiar presence on the other side. "Gunnar," she said, a smile breaking across her face. "It's Clora. I'm here in Alfheim, and I have some news." Clora! His voice came through clearly, brimming with his usual warmth and strength. Good to hear from you. What's going on? Clora explained the opportunity before her, the advanced warfare course, its challenges, the need to integrate with an elven military unit. She told him about the time commitment and the skills she'd gain, as well as her dedication to making the pack stronger with what she learned. 3 months, huh? Gunnar's voice carried a note of approval, mingled with his habitual caution. It's a long time, but it sounds like one hell of a chance to take your skills to the next level. Just make sure to take care of yourself. Don't try to bear all the weight alone, all right? And remember, you've got Omega. Trust him. Trust yourself. Clora felt a wave of reassurance. Gunnar always knew the right things to say, the words that both grounded her and challenged her to push forward. Thank you, Gunnar. I'll remember that. And if there's anything you need me to bring back, just let me know, she added, half-jokingly. He chuckled, his tone light but supportive. Just bring yourself back safe and sound. We'll manage on Earth, though I'll admit things will be a bit quieter without you around to keep everyone in line. As their connection faded, Clora looked up at Aeliana, her heart set. I'm ready. This is the right step. Aeliana placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder. Then we'll prepare you. The course starts in 1 week. Rest up, focus on your studies, and ready yourself and Omega for the journey ahead. You'll return to Earth with knowledge and skills that will guide you and your pack through whatever lies ahead. With Omega by her side and the support of her mentors, Clora felt a surge of determination. She had a week to prepare, and she was going to make every moment count.
All right, you've made it this far. That means either you like what you're seeing, or you're lost. Either way, no harm in sticking around, right? Go on, hit that subscribe button, join the team, and while you're at it, hit like, because, let's be honest, you're already invested. And the bell? That's for you if you don't want to miss any of the action. You wouldn't want me to come find you. See you soon, and remember, once you're in, you're family.